Tonight, the world watches a Middle East on edge as fears of a U.S. military strike on Iran escalate and major powers weigh in on the consequences. From Moscow, the Kremlin has issued a stark warning, saying a U.S. attack on Iran would seriously destabilize the entire region. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov told reporters that such a strike could be another step towards serious destabilization and urged restraint from all parties. He stressed that peace and diplomatic negotiations must be the only focus amid rising tensions. Reports from Israeli media suggest the United States has been preparing for possible military action, with some saying preparations are complete and a strike could happen at any moment. In Geneva, Iran's UN envoy signaled Tehran is bracing for every possible outcome, saying the Islamic Republic is prepared for any scenario, including aggression. Officials claimed informal messages have passed between Iranian and U.S. envoys, but they stopped short of calling these formal negotiations. Meanwhile, Tehran's military leaders have vowed a powerful response to any attack. Iran's defense ministry spokesperson warned that any U.S. or Israeli aggression would be met with a more painful and decisive response than previous conflicts. Iran's first vice president has also said the country has wartime plans ready, while reiterating that Tehran does not seek war but will defend itself fiercely if attacked. And in Washington, the U.S. is increasing its military posture in the region. The aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln and its strike group has entered the U.S. Central Command CENTCOM area of operations in the Indian Ocean, part of a broader deployment of fighter jets and military transport aircraft amid rising threats from Iran. Earlier, the U.S. Navy released photos of a readiness exercise involving its air forces in the Indian Ocean during rising tensions with Tehran over the crackdown on protests. For Iran, high-ranking officials insist any American attack would fail, a message echoed by the judiciary chief, who said the enemy's saber-rattling would not succeed.
We possess extraordinary defensive capabilities. We are far more prepared than before. It is our duty and responsibility to defend Iran's pride, sovereignty, and territorial integrity. As we have shown before, against any aggression or threat, we will respond fiercely and comprehensively with all our strength.
The result, a region fraught with danger, where diplomatic brinksmanship, military buildup, and fiery rhetoric collide. Russia calls for restraint, Iran vows readiness, and the United States positions its forces as the specter of conflict looms over the Middle East once again.
A newly released propaganda video claims Iran's latest hypersonic missile can split the USS Abraham Lincoln in two. The message is blunt, the timing deliberate, and the warning unmistakable. Iran's state-run Islamic ideology dissemination organization has published footage purporting to show its Fatah ballistic missile striking a U.S. aircraft carrier. The video claims American defense systems are powerless against Iran's new generation hypersonic weapons, boasting speeds of up to Mach 13.
The Pentagon's naval doctrine is fundamentally built upon one core belief, the myth of the Aegis system's invulnerability. They are convinced that the SPY-6 radars and Standard 3 missiles have successfully created an impenetrable iron dome over the water. But in modern warfare, physics doesn't compromise with anyone. America's defense system operates on predictive interception, that is, calculating the target's trajectory. However, this formula is ineffective against Iran's new generation of hypersonic missiles. When a missile, traveling at a speed of Mach 13, enters its maneuver phase and alters its trajectory in a mere fraction of a second, the supercomputer on the naval vessel experiences computational paralysis. Furthermore, at this incredible speed, the plasma sheath effectively conceals the missile from radar detection. You cannot aim at something your system simply cannot perceive. However, the true nightmare is the underlying mathematics. Every single destroyer has a very limited ammunition magazine. In a saturation attack scenario, when hundreds of inexpensive projectiles are launched simultaneously alongside heavy missiles, the fire control system will experience a processing overflow. Even if they manage to intercept 90% of the incoming targets, the $20 million munitions will be exhausted by the $20,000 drones. And at the very moment those launchers are completely empty, the massive $10 billion carrier becomes a completely defenseless target. Here, the reaction time is less than 3 minutes. In this asymmetrical equation, aircraft carriers are no longer the hunters. They are big, slow-moving targets who have quite voluntarily entered the killing zone. This is a war that America has already lost on the calculator before firing the very first bullet.
The release comes as reports confirm the U.S. aircraft carrier strike group is heading towards the Gulf amid rapidly escalating tensions with Tehran. President Donald Trump says an American armada is moving into the region, describing a large flotilla deployed just in case force is required.
We're watching Iran. We're watching Iran. You know, we have a lot of ships going that direction, just in case. We have a big flotilla going in that direction, and we'll see what happens. It's a big force. We have a big force going toward Iran. I'd rather not see anything happen, but we're watching them very closely. I stopped 837 hangings on Thursday. They would have been dead. Every one of them would have been hung. This is like from 1,000 years ago. This is an ancient culture. Very smart people, by the way, but it's an ancient culture. 837, mostly young men, were going to be hung on Thursday. And I said, if you hang those people, you're going to be hit harder than you've ever been hit. It'll make what we did to your Iran nuclear look like peanuts. And an hour before this horrible thing was going to take place, they canceled it. And they actually said they canceled it. They didn't postpone it. They canceled it. So that was a good sign. But we have an armada. We have a massive fleet heading in that direction. And maybe we won't have to use it. We'll see.
The USS Abraham Lincoln has altered course from the South China Sea and is now sailing towards the Middle East with its strike group. That group includes Arleigh Burke-class destroyers armed with Tomahawk cruise missiles capable of striking deep inside Iranian territory. U.S. officials confirm the ships are equipped with the Aegis combat system, designed to intercept ballistic and cruise missiles and aerial threats. Despite that capability, Iran's video openly challenges Washington's defenses, portraying a direct hit on the carrier as inevitable. Behind the scenes, diplomatic and military coordination is intensifying. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff says an American delegation met Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to discuss Gaza and broader regional issues. According to Witkoff, the talks included senior White House advisors and focused on next steps in continued regional cooperation. Israeli media reports now suggest the United Arab Emirates, Jordan, and the United Kingdom could support U.S. military operations if conflict erupts. That support would reportedly include intelligence sharing, logistics, and participation in intercepting Iranian missiles or drones. The report says those defenses would protect Israel, U.S. bases, and strategic sites across the region. Iranian commanders are responding with explicit threats. Ali Abdullahi Ali-Abadi warns that any attack would turn every U.S. base in the region into a legitimate target. Revolutionary Guard Commander General Mohammad Pakpour says Iran is more ready than ever, with forces on hair-trigger alert. He warns Washington and Israel to avoid miscalculation as military assets converge and rhetoric hardens.